Hey, campers. You might be wondering why we're in a jailhouse. Julie called me and asked me to meet her here. So, have you guys seen her?
Oh, campers! You made it! Welcome to Bible Gems.
Julie, what are you wearing? And why are we in a jailhouse?
Tiara, I told you. In today's Bible story, we learn how Joseph went to jail with the baker and the butler. See? I'm the baker.
Okay, so then where's the butler?
Oh, almost forgot. Here you go. Hold on to this.
Okay.
That right there.
There
you go. Now, go get me a water. Stay tuned to see what happens to Joseph right here on Bible Gems. Butler, I'm still waiting. Cupcake?
Where have you seen Uncle Aron anywhere?
Have you seen Uncle Aron?
No, have you guys seen Uncle Aron?
Yeah. We're looking for Uncle Aron.
You've seen him?
Uncle Aron?
Yep. Have you guys seen Uncle Aron?
Have you seen Uncle Aron?
You haven't seen Uncle Aron?
Here. I'm right here.
Oh, Uncle Aron. What do you have?
And look what I found. I found today a wonderful Bible gem.
Wow.
Wait a minute. Let me invite the boys and girls around the world. They'll want to hear it too.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome to Bible Gems. And Uncle Aron has just found a gem. Can you read it to us?
Yes, let me open it up here. Here, you want to hold that?
Oh,
Here
that's
today,
so
we have a
pretty.
wonderful Bible gem. It's a story that's found way back in the book of Genesis.
Genesis?
Yeah, it's a story about a boy named Joseph. Yeah.
Joseph. I know that story.
But before we get into it, we're going to sing our memory verse song.
So they're going to sing about the gem.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, girls, can Miss Jody, can you lead us in that?
Yes, it'll be Genesis 50, verse 20. But as for you, you thought
evil against me, but as for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it for good, to save many people. But God meant it for good, to save many people. Genesis 50, verse 20.
Uncle Aron, is there any way you could tell us? Would you guys like to hear Uncle Aron tell a story? Yeah. About Joseph?
Yeah.
Yes, I love that story. Okay, Uncle
All
Aron,
right.
I am excited.
Okay. All right, boys and girls, today we're going to dive right into the story of Joseph. But before we go into Joseph being in Egypt, I'm going to remind you about what happened before to Joseph. Joseph was at home, living in Canaan with his family, and he had, I can't quite remember, how many brothers did Joseph have?
11.
He had 11 brothers. That's right. He was the 12th brother. And he was there, but his brothers didn't like him very much because they were envious of him. They were jealous of him. And so what they did was a shameful thing. They sold him into slavery. Wow, they sold him for 30 pieces of silver. And there's poor Joseph being taken away into a foreign nation, a foreign land, likely not even knowing the language. And there was Joseph locked up. Before he got locked up, he got sold to a man. Who knows the name of that man? All right, let's say it all together if you know it. 3, 2, 1. Potiphar. That's right, he was sold to Potiphar. And in Potiphar's household, he did all kinds of things for him. Eventually, Potiphar recognized that, wow, God is really with Joseph. And so he gave him jurisdiction. He gave him, he allowed him to rule over his own household. Well, Potiphar had a certain wife who unfortunately was trying to do some things with Joseph that weren't okay. And so one day, Potiphar's wife cornered Joseph and tried to ask him to do something that he knew was wrong to do. And Joseph said to her, I can't do that. How can I sin against who? Who is he afraid to sin against? God, that's right. He said, how can I sin against God? And he said, I won't do that. And was Potiphar's wife happy about that? No. Potiphar's wife said, oh, I can't believe it. And as Joseph was trying to run away, Potiphar's wife grabbed his coat and ripped off his coat just as he got away from there. And what Potiphar's wife did was she grabbed his coat and she went and she cried out and said, ah. She said, oh no, Joseph tried to do all kinds of terrible things to me. Oh no. And she yelled out, and was Joseph really doing those bad things? No, she was lying about it. She was lying all about it. And eventually Potiphar came home, and Potiphar's wife went and told him all these things. Oh, and Joseph was trying to do this and hurt me and do all these things. And Potiphar, what did he have to do? He had to throw him into prison. Now, at least he didn't die. He threw him into the dungeon, threw him into the prison. Ooh, does that sound like a nice place you'd want to be? No. He threw him into that prison, and there sat Joseph all alone, being set up. He was framed. He never did that thing to begin with. And as he was there, did God leave him? No, God was still with him. And as Joseph was in prison, he was still very helpful. And the jail guard there recognized, wow, Joseph is really helpful. So he gave him responsibilities and duties, and Joseph was well liked and respected there in prison. Well, eventually, during Joseph's time in prison, there came along two guys. Who were these special guys that the Bible tells us? Let's see. Let's give the mic to Gavin. Who were these men?
The cupbearer and the baker.
That's right, the cupbearer and the baker, right? We could call it the butler and the baker. The butler and the baker. The baker made bread for Pharaoh, and the butler served him his drink, his wine, his whatever he wanted to drink. But Pharaoh was angry at the butler and the baker, and he said, man, you guys have offended me. And so he threw him into prison, just like Joseph. Now, when these men were in prison, they had dreams. Who knows what kind of dreams they dreamt? Let's see, Jackson.
One dream was the cupbearer's dream, and he had the dream about when he was squeezing wine there was a vine, and he was squeezing wine into Pharaoh's cup.
The cups, yeah. That's good. Yes, that was one of the dreams that the butler had. That's good. Who knows what the baker had? Let's go with Nathan here.
The baker's dream was, so he had a basket full of bread, and some birds came and took them away.
Oh, how many baskets were on his head?
3.
I think there were 3. That's right. 3 branches for the butler and 3 baskets of bread on his head. And they were confused. They said, I don't know what this dream meant. Anyone here ever had a dream and you're like, whoa, that was weird. I don't know what that means. Yeah? Oh, yeah. Sometimes we have these crazy dreams. Well, they recognized there was something special about these dreams. So they came to Joseph, said, hey, tell me the dream and I can give you the interpretation, because I know a God who knows the interpretation. And so there, Joseph explained to the butler first, and he said, oh, the 3 branches represent 3 days, and you will be restored after 3 days, within 3 days, to be the butler for Pharaoh again. Now, do you think that made the butler happy?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. He said, yeah, I get to be back with Pharaoh and do my job and not be locked up in this prison. And so, after the baker heard that was a good interpretation, he said, oh, okay, well, what's my interpretation? Unfortunately, Joseph had to share with him the bad news that after 3 days, he was actually going to be, he wasn't going to make it. He wasn't going to be able to live anymore. And guess what happened after 3 days? He died, but the butler, the cupbearer, the butler was restored back to Pharaoh. And Joseph said, when you go back to Pharaoh, remember me. But did the butler remember Joseph? Not immediately, but some time went by, and eventually Pharaoh himself had a dream. And during this dream, he needed to understand the interpretation, but his magicians couldn't help him. And what was this dream all about?
The cows and the vine.
Wow, the cows and it was the corn stalk. Very close there. There were some cows, and how many cows were there?
7.
There were 7. That's exact. You guys are so sharp. There were 7 cows, and there were 7 stalks of corn there. So the first dream he had, there were 7 cows that were really healthy and really, fat and good. But then 7 other cows came, and they were sickly and skinny and dying. And those 7 skinny cows came, and they devoured the big cows. Can you imagine seeing that in a dream?
Whoa.
Cows eating other cows. Whoa, what does this mean? And then you had the second dream, where the corn stalks, the first 7 were really big, and the next 7 were really skinny. And the same thing happened. The skinny stalks of corn came, and they ate and devoured the 7 big ones. And Pharaoh said, what does this mean? And Joseph came in, and he explained that this dream meant that 7 years will be plentiful in Egypt, but then there will be 7 years of famine. And Pharaoh knew that he needed someone smart and wise like Joseph to manage all the goods and the food of Egypt. And so Joseph was promoted to be second in command. The only person above Joseph in all of Egypt was who? Pharaoh, that's right. And as he was putting together and collecting food for 7 years, guess what happened after the 7 years of plenty? 7 years of famine, just like the interpretation said would happen. And during those 7 years of famine, Joseph's family and his brothers back there in Canaan, they thought, whoa, we heard that Egypt has lots of food. We should go to Egypt and see if we can get some food from there. So there came, Judah and Simeon and Reuben and all of his brothers came, except for Benjamin. And when they came, guess who recognized the brothers? Joseph did. He said, whoa, these are my brothers. And Joseph did a few different things to test and see if they really changed. That's exactly right. To see if they'd repented, to see if they had, matured. And along that testing process, eventually he realized, wow, they truly have changed. They truly, do love their father, and they do love my younger brother, Benjamin. And so there, holding back tears, finally he couldn't hold back tears anymore, and he made himself known to his brothers. He said, brothers, I'm Joseph. Wow, what a shock do you think that those brothers had? They were like, no way. You know what they did all together? They all stood up. Let's all stand up together. They stood up, and with tears in their eyes, they all had a big hug. Let's go have a big hug. Can we do that? Let's get it together. Oh, they hugged each other and say, oh, I love you, and I miss you. Oh, and I'm so sorry for what I did for you.
12 people.
Yeah, this is more, maybe some of the Egyptians came along and they joined in the hug too. Maybe they were crying as well.
I think that's the case. I think they did.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, boys and girls, it is about time for us to go. But I want you all to remember to search the scriptures that you can find your hidden gems there. And that's all the time we have for Bible Gems.
We'll see you next time.
Can we say goodbye?